Hello YouTube, welcome to another episode of Compile Link Run. Last week my nephew was here and we compiled the Irrlicht game engine and modified one of the example programs that come with it. And I was really struck by how, even though Irrlicht is supposed to be one of the easier to use 3D graphics engines, or at least that's its goal when it was started many years ago, I felt like the game engine that I built on top of it actually made it a lot easier to do things like create a new object and associate motion with it, physics and stuff. And that made me want to work on my game engine some more. It's been kind of in a state of midway through a rewrite or refactor that never got finished. But in order to do that, I need to get Irrlicht compiling in the same project with or same IDE with my game studio or my game engine. I had been using code blocks, but another thing that struck me as I was doing the video last week was that code blocks hasn't been updated in a really long time, at least not the release version. They may be working on nightly releases, but I haven't messed with those. And I'm just tired of it not being updated, bugs fixed, and things like that. On some platforms, it becomes almost unusable. And I've started using CLion more, or at least I've resolved to try to use CLion more. However, CLion is based on CMake, and the Bullet physics engine, which I use with my game engine, already has a CMake build, so it was pretty simple to do. But Irrlicht doesn't come with a CMake build out of the box as far as I know. So that might make a good episode to go ahead and try to find a CMake makefile for Irrlicht and see if we can compile Irrlicht on Windows with one of those. I already attempted this somewhat on the Mac, so this is not completely fresh, but I wasn't able to find a good one yet for the Mac, and I feel a lot more confident about building it for Windows because I understand what the dependencies of the Windows version of Irrlicht are better than the Mac version. The Mac version has to compile some Objective C++ files, these .mm files or something, and I'm just not an Objective C programmer. I have no idea what's going on with those things, nor do I want to know. And I remember it being a real pain years ago to get Irrlicht and my game engine compiling on the Mac in another environment other than Xcode because of that. But anyway, it should be an easier task on Windows. And what I'm going to do is just simply Google for Irrlicht CMake file and see, or CMake module. Well, let's do CMake, just Irrlicht CMake, see what we get. And most of the most promising hits look like some GitHub repositories. There's some forum posts about it, but they're pretty old, and I'm not sure if they still apply to the most recent versions of Irrlicht. And so what I'm gonna let's check this Stack Overflow thing here. Okay, this one is based on an already existing Irrlicht there. So that's not actually building Irrlicht. Now, that's one way that I could go with this, is I could require the user to just install Irrlicht as a separate step. But I really think it's important that the build system for my game engine be able to build as many of the dependencies as possible straight from the build system. One thing that I'm not completely happy about with CLion is that CLion doesn't really have the concept of a solution or a workspace file as far as I can tell, and it just has, you have to open a separate window for each project, and as far as I can tell it doesn't automatically rebuild the dependent projects, which is kind of weird. It seems like a main task of an IDE or a build system or CMake or whatever should be to track those dependent projects like that, but if they're not all under the same tree on one project, it doesn't capture them. But it's not going to be too much of a problem for me with Irrlicht with my game engine because I really won't be modifying the Irrlicht sources very much, if at all. And so if I have to manually recompile it when I need to, that's okay. Okay, let's try this one here. Irrlicht CMake. Let's see if this one. Is it? I think I'd rather clone it. I wonder if I have that installed. Oh, I don't have that installed. I suppose I could install it. What I'm doing here is downloading the GitHub desktop app. It's going to make me sign in. Okay. Drag this over here where you can't see it. I'm logging into the GitHub app on the other screen. Okay, here we go. Now let's go back to this and see if it will. Nope, it's not integrated. Let's copy that. Sure, that'll work. Well, maybe I should move it. Okay, I'm going to put it here. Another option is I could have used the import from sources with CLion. In fact, using this option right here. But I don't know if there's some additional settings that I might miss if I don't use this thing. So let's look at what we got. So I'm gonna open this. This is a lot here, and I'm not really sure what it's for. So what I'm going to try to do instead is I'm going to try to build the project from sources and then add the stuff in manually, because I want to understand why each setting is needed there. And if I just import this whole thing into it with stuff in it that I don't understand, then I'm not sure if it's going to do me much good. Although this one nicely shows what to do for the OS X files, so that's good. Okay, so I'm going to do import project from sources. I'll just use the Irrlicht project I've already got right here. And I don't want to build the examples right now. Actually, maybe before I do this, maybe I better make a copy of the Irrlicht project so that I can choose to use Irrlicht CMake instead. What I can do is take all these, copy them, and what I'm doing here is I'm going to compare what the results I got from opening it with Irrlicht CMake versus compiling or importing the sources, and see where I messed up if I set it up wrong. Come on. Went to school with someone who was sure that if you dragged a progress bar like that, it would make the computer go faster. Okay, do we want to merge tools? Sure. The funny part is that his computer really did get done faster when he went like that. We were on installing NT4, NT5, a really old version of Windows NT, and we all had the same computer hardware, and when he was doing that, he would actually cause his stuff to finish faster. I can only guess that maybe it was like triggering an interrupt while it was, maybe the mouse clicking and stuff was triggering an interrupt that was changing how long the computer waited on input or something like that. Okay, yes, merge that. Pretty graphs. Guess I should have copied this before I started the video, but I wasn't sure which way I was going to go with it. I'm still not sure which way is going to work best, whether to just import this existing project that I don't understand all of it, or whether to import the project from sources into CMake and maybe miss something that has to be set up. I believe that CLion can directly open this Irrlicht CMake project as if it were a CLion project, but I'm not sure if it still works quite the same way as one that's just created from scratch with CLion. Okay, here we go. Now, I can finish importing these. So I'm going to leave examples out because I don't know how to make CLion create two separate projects in one, or two separate targets in one project. I tried very hard to make it do that with the bullet physics engine and my main code, and in the end just decided it wasn't worth it. I'm going to leave the tools out as well because those also have a main.cpp in there, and I just want to make a static library out of this right now and compile it with a different main.cpp. Okay, get all these source files here. I think that'll be okay. Nothing in there that this folder will still be there. Oh, that's not good. I just messed it up. All right, import project from sources, Irrlicht. Okay, let's take away examples. Let's keep include, keep source, take away tools. There we go. Okay, so, well, there we go. Couldn't get CLion to show on the other monitor at first. Alright, so here's what CLion created, and this is another thing that's maybe not so great, is it just dumps all the files into one giant list on the root, which, again, it seems like some of the things that CLion does negate the purpose or the benefit of having something like CMake. I mean, it makes sense that they use it, but CMake is supposed to be able to automatically just look for the CMake list.txt in subfolders, yet the CLion IDE just dumps everything in one root folder, or one root CMake list, and like I said, it doesn't allow you to have different projects that are all interdependent. You have to manage those yourself, as far as I can tell. You can't trigger a rebuild of the dependencies. But I can show you what I mean by this. See, the best way I found to have different projects open in CLion is you just have to have different windows and open them here. So now I'm going to go ahead and open, maybe I'll do import. I still don't know the difference between import and open. It's like if I open this with import, see what happens. Import. Okay, open existing project. That's the one that I want. What do I want to import as a new CMake project? I'll try open existing. And I'll do new window. Okay, so now I have this window and this window. Now when I did this with the Bullet physics engine, I didn't have any problems because it was already set up for that. This one here maybe is not going to work so well. DX, DirectX 9. Another thing that made it easier for the Bullet physics engine was that it doesn't necessarily need any dependencies on hardware or external libraries if you don't build it with if you remove OpenCL and anything else like that. Since it is a physics engine, it can receive data and compute an answer and then return it. It doesn't necessarily have to talk to other APIs if you don't want to build those into it. And that's always an easier thing to do than to try to build something that's a wrapper on top of another API, because then, like the problem I'm having here, it's not finding this DirectX 9 library. So, once again, back to Google. And I'm going to check on the, let's see. Okay, I don't want to add those right now. Okay, DirectX 9 library. Copy as plain text. Okay, so here's Ogre. It's a direct competitor to the Irrlicht 3D graphics engine, and I've often considered the pros and cons of switching between Irrlicht and Ogre. And in the end, I have not yet done that because it just seems like it wouldn't necessarily fix all of my problems or anything with the game engine. I haven't come to any limits of Irrlicht yet. Most of the limits that I've come to with my game engine are limits of myself, so and getting it working. So I haven't had a good reason to switch yet. I've wanted to have it stable and then be able to make it to where you could choose either Irrlicht or Ogre as a rendering engine, but I haven't got to that point yet. But the similarities between what Ogre does and Irrlicht does makes me think that this find directx.cmake is just what the doctor ordered for fixing that build error I've got there. As far as I've been able to gather, these find etc. files like this, what they're for is they basically are like little subroutines that your CMake file can use to find specific libraries that you depend on. And there was another tutorial that I found when I was trying to build Irrlicht on the Mac that showed how to, or actually it wasn't even for that, it was for just how to link static library projects with CLion. And it talked about doing this. So what you do is you make a CMake folder under here. So I want to see project files. Here we go. Now I want to make a new folder. And just call it CMake. And then I'm just gonna download this file into it, I think. I grab this raw view and I'm gonna say save link as. We'll try. Okay, there we go. No, not downloads. Okay, so I put this here. And now what I might need to do is find that tutorial that I had before that was talking about how to use those things. So that also will tell me how to invoke this find CMake thing. So I'm going to do Google find DirectX CMake or whatever. It's something to do with tinyxml to CMake static library. Here we go. This is this person's website called limeoats.com, and they went through the same thing that I went through with past probably 10 years or so working on my game engine, is that if you want a cross-platform IDE, your options are very limited. Visual Studio, I guess, is now working on I guess Microsoft's working on Visual Studio Code, which is a completely different IDE or something. Might be cross-platform. It might work for us in the future, but I don't think it's ready right now for this. And if you're on Mac, you got Xcode and so forth. And there was really, for years, there was not very much good for Linux for C++ IDEs. And so after Code Blocks was the best that I had to choose from until they created CLion, until JetBrains created CLion. But like I said, Code Blocks has not had a major release update as far as I know in quite a long time, and a lot of the distributions are packaging versions even of the major release that don't have the latest bug fixes in it, so or they have very much older versions. It's kind of frustrating that nobody's packaging those. So anyway, this tutorial right here is about how to link a static library in CLion with a separate project. And pretty much you have to open up a new project in a new window to link it. But the reason why I wanted this is that it includes this thing here about how to use that. And this is what I'm looking for right here. Well, two things actually. I've got that, but I need something to do with that CMake folder. Okay, I'm looking for where the static library gets added to, or not the static library, where the CMake file gets used, like a tinyxml to that CMake. Okay, this is the file, or this is the text of that file. Now this, okay. This, what we're doing here is we want to put this in the main CLion project so that it will find that. Now, so this is the one that we're trying to build, is the Irrlicht CMake. So I'm not really sure why it doesn't already include that. Oh, it does include that. Okay. Oh, okay. So I'm duplicating something that's already in this DirectX 9.cmake. Okay, so this should have run. Huh. Okay, wrong encoding. I don't know if that makes a big difference or not. Okay. DirectX 9 library. Does it say, let's see if it says DirectX correctly found or not. It says OpenGL correctly found. It says DirectX 9 correctly found. Okay. So what I was just doing, setting up the CMake folder in the other project, this one's already been done here. But somehow it's not setting a variable that's needed further down. Looks like it is this right here. DirectX 9 D3 DX9 library. Okay. Let's see. That underscore library that gets appended to that. I'm wondering, okay. Compare that, or let me see if that's in this. Okay, so according to this tutorial, that sort of syntax of the project name underscore library should be set by this, find library. So let's see what this does. Does it have the find library thing? No, it doesn't. I'm going to take a bit of a break and come back.